I have documentation, I have it all over the place, Google Wave, so I will just get it ready for you to go at that point. But the one thing you need to know as a coder is that controller method that comes through when the request, we hit this one big method, it sets up this object. This object is data for everything about the request in a page. So there's two things going on. The web will send all this request data back. A page this is data relative to the page in the CMS for everything around it. It'll pick up the site, so if I go object site, that is the site record that the page belongs to. If a GET form is posted, in this object, all of the key and the values for that form are placed in this object. This object gets passed around to all of your methods for your blocks. So that's how we can do all these different types of block types. So let me start with the most simple markup that's generated and returned out back to your request to the web page, and that's that tiny MCE. You're typing in this content, but what happens is when we're getting everything, putting the data together, is that content comes in as an object, and that's your markup right there. And notice right down here, the value of the content is set into that, and we return markup plus the data back to the web page for that slot in the order of your page that you have it all set. Pretty easy. Everybody understand this one right here? Couple things. You're writing JavaScript to do HTML. Not the most fun. All right, so the next stuff is going to get really hairy. Once you get used to it, you know, single quotes, double quotes, all that stuff. No one likes writing HTML markup in JavaScript or Java. Sort of takes you back. You can also do velocity templates. I'm a pimp Patrick Talbot again, velocity plugin. So you don't need to do markup and data munging together with JavaScript. You can use this plugin and say, here's my template, get the template metadata, and use this plugin to put the content into the template, velocity templates. So that's another thing for version 2 that we're going to try and get you some examples of. Let's get more complicated. How do I do a sub-navigation? This one has no data entry, but that sub-navigation block right there is all the pages that are children of About Hub. Here's the code for that. I get an object in. You notice that about 4 or 5 lines down, I go and find pages where the parent ID is the object block params. And that's the ID for the parent page. And in this case, it returns 4 pages, and it has to be published, right? That's the one there. And I just go through a loop, and the page name and the link to the page gets merged in with HTML, and that gets returned. Okay. Navigation main is a little bit more complicated. This navigation especially, if you hover over any of that, has a drop-down, sub-navigation. Possible that you have a sub-navigation by hovering over any of those items. So 2 levels deep. How do we do that? Remember I talked about tagging pages with attributes? Well, the 5 main pages up there I've tagged with a key called nav main. And they have a value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I go in 5, find pages that have nav main, and I sort on the attribute value ascending. Now once I do that, I just start marking up that top bar. And I'm just returning ULLI, and then I'm going to start nesting. If I find a child under one of those, I'm going to do another loop. And that's my drop down, ULLI. Finally, if one of those has child, I'm going to go out. Again, I'm just returning ULLIs. The out, down, and all that is handled by client-side JavaScript. I'm just returning straight-up markup. Not a big deal, but that's the concept. A search form. How do you do a search form? Well, there's 2 things. There's the markup for this form, and then there's the result markup. Pretty easy to do this. The object is just a big find as a get. And notice on the second one, I actually pre-fill. If you searched on something, it'll pre-fill that search and keep it there until you change it. And so that's just, you know, the usual stuff. And this is just, if I go the second, third line there, action search, if a found set is returned, I'm going to loop through that found set, and I'm going to return markup plus the name of the page and the link of their description. All right. once all these are going to be, we have like 20 blocks that are going to be default that you can just start with and they'll work. Quick contact, that's this. This is a little different. We might want to check for the email to be correct. We might want to give a message saying thank you for submitting if it goes through right. We might want to send an email back to them when they hit the submit and it goes through. So what's going to run is a controller method now. And this is on that quick contact form. The controller will call all these views depending on what you've sent it. Well, there's a submit button on there that probably has a name of quick contact. I check to see that. If it doesn't come through on the object in the get slot, if I don't see that there, I know it's the first visit. And I'm going to return the form. If I see that it's in there, I'm going to do a validate method. And if the validate method doesn't work, I'm going to return the view error, which probably highlights the fields that didn't validate. If it does validate, I'm going to save the data, I'm going to send an email back out, and I'm going to send them a view response that says, hey, thank you. All right, I'm not going to be able to do this one because we're running low on time. We're at 5 or 10? 15, perfect. How many of you guys are doing web clients, Servoy straight up web client? This one would take 20 minutes, so I threw it in there, it all works. How many of you love the URLs that it generates at the top? Servoy's web client is really good at workflow modeling. It is terrible for websites, right? How many of you tried? And I won't even go into the reasons why, but number one, you just cut out designers. They're not going to get into Servoy, right? They have their tools, Photoshop, send it to China, get it marked up, send you the things back, you convert it. Real URLs, you can't do that really. Backwards, forwards, don't work. And you just stay right there. This demo right here, maybe I'll do a screencast once we get like 10, 20 people in, and I'll show you how to do this, and I'll put it in actually. Just one of the things we'll schedule next month or so. But we have a technique that actually you can plug in a Servoy web client right in as a block. Use Servoy web client for what it's really good at, workflow, and you can have, through the CMS, links to every form and every record. You don't have to, some of the things, if you just want to stay on the same link, you can. And there's just a great little technique that Troy Elliott, my partner, and Patrick Talbot one day about 3 months ago spent Friday afternoon because we were just so burned out doing everything. We knew it could work, and we got that to work. So I don't know. It really is important if you want a web client to work with real links and to have a nice website. And I'm done here. This is the point I want to make. I hope I give you a good idea that this is doable, it's solid. If you don't understand anything, we have a Google group. And once you get it downloaded, all you have to do, turn the debugger on. And I put that main controller method right in the top form, first method. Just put a debugger on it. Click, 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 click. That's all you have to do. And you see everything flow. And just work through it. Very easy. How many of you are trying to get into the back-end guts of the CMS before? Look all over the place. Well, I've given you the map, giving you the flow, giving you where to start. I hope I see some of you. At this point, my pleasure to introduce to you Locke. He is going to, the big reason to have a CMS in Servoy is to integrate with some of your other Servoy applications and enterprise stuff. He's going to show you some really cool stuff. Thanks, Locke.
Thanks, David. Well, I just want to start out with saying I thought the go-kart racing was tonight, but thanks, David. Well, we got involved with David and Troy. We were moving we wanted to interface a 25-year-old accounting system with Servoy, and we wanted to uphold the business rules and business logic and have a real pretty front end on it. And so we used Data Sutra, which is frameworks from David to do that. We have our smart client solution up and running in the cloud. We took this company that was just a company that ran everything in-house to the cloud this August, running all their product on smart client. It's a facility which has an accounting and distribution office out of Wisconsin. sales offices in Jacksonville, Florida, and in Minnesota. And their cloud is in Minnesota. Just phenomenal. And so here's and so basically we put a CRM front end, which Servoy, of course, we've seen the endless examples of that, up. And so we have the CRM stuff at the top. We have a tab panel at the bottom, which is showing the integration into the back-end accounting system. The CRM contact can exist without a tie into the back-end accounting system before they're an official customer. When they become an official customer, we assign an ID to them, and they're tied back into the accounting system, and everything just goes live. So you've got the summary on the lower right here, which is their summary accounting information, and then we have a tab panel showing open orders and history orders. And then on the pop-out panel here, we have tasks on the CRM side. Now the CRM data is all stored in a MySQL system independent of the accounting data, but it's totally integrated into one screen. We used to have 2 or 3 different screens, some old code in web-based and in some dedicated Windows apps to do all this. And now we have one screen, and it's working phenomenal. And here we have an example of a procedure call back into the accounting database, getting open orders for a client. This is a tab panel. It's solution model stuff, so it's getting a data set back from the raw SQL query. And we've got 2 queries there. We've got the header and we've got the detail, and they get both built dynamically. Here's another example of an invoice detail. What's really nice about this solution is that we're showing the detail of the invoice on top of and this is a pop-up window, on top of the tab panel. And as you scroll down the next and previous buttons at the top there, that blue line behind there just keeps tracking. So you can view the detail of every invoice that the customers had in their history, which is something they hadn't seen before. The inventory, live inventory, back into the back-end system, showing inventory items, active inventory items, showing quantities available, quantities on hand, on order. The pricing is tied back to the customer, which is currently called up. So if it's a detail, retail, distributor type pricing, it's all real-time live. On the right pop out here, you see a cart in action, sales cart. Those arrows going down the right, you click those arrows going down the right and it just pops them over into the cart. Or you can go down and populate numbers down on each line item for quantities, and then hit the top arrow. It'll move all items over at once. This cart is a 5-step process. The first step is order header information. Step 2, items. Step 3, ship to addresses, which are pulled from the back-end accounting system, or a dynamic ship to address if it's just a one-off. And plus that information has an option to be saved back into the accounting system. Number 4 is the payment method for credit cards on file, or terms or what have you. And number 5 is a completed order, and you get a summary of the order here, and the order total, and so the sales rep can do his thing and tell him what's going on. This is some back-end, just a couple minutes here. The back-end database is got multiple record types in the same table, so you have to read the information to find out what's actually in the record before you can do anything with it. And so this is showing some raw level back-end procedure code written in Business Basic with a splash of Java on the back end, and this builds the results that